Hey, Planeswalkers, hope you're doing well and staying safe. Welcome, my friends, to our weekly episode here on Friday Night Meta with yours truly, MetaMaster Mythras here, breaking things down, all about equipping you with the top decks across each of the formats here and the play styles. So very excited about that. Thank you for tuning in. Flip me that like, smash that subscribe because we'd love to see you around again. And on top of that, feel free to ask questions down below or hop in the Discord server. In the description is the information available to you, along with the timestamps here today, where I will break down each of these formats for you: standard, alchemy, historic brawl, best of one and best of three. And then we will move into a couple fun events from last weekend and talk about some of the impacts on the meta, my friends. So again, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate everyone's support. Great ways to stay connected on the channel, and thank you to all the YouTube members and patrons as always. So all right, here's what we got going on in standard. We are at our first week essentially here for January, so players starting to make it through. Some of those of you in the Discord server hit Mythic already, and those of you out there as well, so congrats. Some of the biggest pieces here as we look at things that aggregate. First off, here in best of one, mono white aggro still performing top notch. On top of that, then we got Orzhov control, mono black control, and the works. Did run a mono red goblins list. You can check that out on the channel. Mono white aggro 26%. Every fourth deck that you play is likely to be mono white aggro. So that is absolutely crazy in terms of what we got going on in the meta right now, my friends. So we can see what's happening here. You can see those jumps, and we can continue to see what's happening as well. A little bit of uptick in mono green. Mono dimmer zombies doing a little bit better there as well. And then the host of everything else, mono white, really performing while everything else continues to go down. So really cementing its grasp in best of one, as we would say there, and domination. So all right, so let's go look at the more competitive scene. Pretty much the same thing. You begin to see dimmer zombies, dimmer control not doing well. And we do see Is It Turns amount of black control creeping in there, but again, 28%. Absolutely crazy, but similar style in terms of what's going on there as well, and same thing with the win rate. So let's go ahead. I'm going to peel through these here for you relatively quickly so that you can get a quick look at these different tiers and get a good idea of what's happening across each of these right now for your gameplay, because that's really important. Dimmer zombies in diamond, that is pretty interesting to see, particularly with some of those other win rates there. So very nice. And then mythic, not enough information there. So very cool. Let's go ahead and move to best of three. Best of three now, again, same thing. Mono white aggro 21%, 22. Same thing with mono green stompy. Is It Turns way up there at 16%. So well over 50%. The meta is dominated by these three decks. Every other match you're going to see something like that in terms of what's happening. Now when we move over here, mono black aggro still has a pretty high win rate, but not as much of play. We got Jund mid-range is creeping up. We still got Orzhov clerics, and then dimmer control and a host of other things there. So when we go down and look at the meta, we see that trend, mono white aggro going back up, green sideways, similar to turns and everything else likely, but everything else is kind of trending down in terms of win rate, and mono white aggro is doing well once again. As we dive into the competitive scene, similar style. Wow, 4 decks below 50% in terms of part of the meta and what people are playing, and then as we look again, similar style and similar results in terms of what's going on there with the win rates. So pretty interesting to see, as always, for our standard. Now many of you know that that's been kind of the thing as of late, which also opens up as a nice segue for us in alchemy here in a minute. But again, just clicking through these so that you can see what's happening. There's diamond for you. Mono white aggro, green stompy, and As It Turns, our 3 favorite decks. Nothing happening, at least enough in mythic yet. So that is standard, best of one, best of three. Let's go ahead and take a look at alchemy. We'll move over into that best of one. Mono red dragons in the top spot, Esper Party, mono green stompy, Boros dragons, clerics, Orzhov, Azor's control, Gruul werewolves, and Is It Mill being a very fun, cool deck. So shout out to Alex Mixel on that, running into the top 100 on that. So I'm looking forward to doing that deck. So everyone stay tuned for that. So again, as you can see, lots of the different win rates, lots of the trends here. Esper Party staying up there. Everything else kind of trending down. Is it Mill trending up? Let's go to the more competitive scene. Same thing. Is it Mill still in there? Gruul Werewolves, everything else. Esper Party being the most played, followed by Mono Red Dragons. Gruul Werewolves pretty tight in terms of variety. It's not that 25% mono white aggro deck kind of thing that's happening. And again, you can look at the win rates. Mono Red Dragons doing very, very well there in terms of what's going on. So let's go ahead in terms of our best of one. Let's get a quick sneak peek at each of these. Again, typically not always filled all the way through there. Mono Green Stompy doing well. Orzhov Clerics doing well. Boros Dragons showing up. And then we get into Platinum and move forward into Diamond, dominated by Dragons. We see a Naya Werewolves variation popping up there. And then Mythic, not quite enough there yet, my friends. So that is best of one. Let's go ahead and look at best of three for Alchemy. Mono White Humans being in the top spot right now for that. Boros Dragons, Orzhov Control, Rakdos Vampires, Mono Red Dragons, Mono Black Sacrifice, Gruul Werewolves, Mono Green Stompy. Gruul Werewolves taking up most of the meta, then Dragons in there as well. In terms of variations, huge spike and kind of fall off in terms of Werewolves. Similar thing. Everything else is trending down there in terms of win rates. So that's pretty fascinating. Now, if we go to the more competitive scene, still Mono White Humans, and then you can see several decks not doing well. Mono Green Stompy, many players on that, but it is not performing at all. This is actually probably the lowest win rate I've seen for any deck here in the channel and life that I've been doing the weekly meta analysis. But there you have it. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll look at each of the decks and continue to go. Again, not a ton of data usually yet, but there we go. Some in Platinum there. Boros Dragons, Mono Red Dragons, everything else. Again, those not so great win rates. Diamonds, and then Mythic. Just not enough information yet there. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that as things evolve here as we move forward in January. Next, we have Historic. So Historic here, dominated by Golgari Food, Azor's Control. Is it Phoenix? We got Simic Merfolk popping in here in terms of best of one. We got some of the combo decks with 5-color Niv, Rakdos Arcanus. I'm actually surprised not to see some of the Reanimator stuff and a few other the combo decks that typically pop up at the beginning of the season, but maybe we'll see that as we drill in. As you can see, the change in terms of what's being played more, Azor's Control really ticking up. Everything else kind of had an early pop and then going sideways. Golgari Food having a very healthy win rate over everything else, but you do see that Is it Phoenix and Azor's Control kind of creeping up there. So then as we move into the more competitive scene, let's see what happens here. A couple changes up there at the top, but other than that, that's what we're looking at in terms of the meta, my friends. So pretty similar to what we had at a broad range. So let's go ahead. We'll do our creep through the tier list here, or walk through the tier list. And see what we got going on. Is it Phoenix at 50%? We'll see if we get a bunch of data. There we go. Azor's Auras, Golgari Food, Azor's Control, the works. Selesnya Humans popping in there with the good old Coco as always. Golgari Food at the top. And then once we get into Mythic, all holding steady. All right, so that was actually best of three. Let's go into best of one. Here we go. In terms of best of one, Azor's Auras dominating. There's the Esper Reanimator. That's why I was off. I did it backwards. Getting late, getting tired. I need some sleep. And here's everything else that you got. Mono Red Aggro, Jeskai Control, and Is it Phoenix? Let's scroll down. Again, a huge fall off in Squirrel Twin though. But the rate's been kind of similar, but we do see a big pickup in Esper Reanimator. So that's more of what I was expecting in terms of what we have in the meta. And then you got Rakdos Arcanus doing well, and Mono Red Aggro also doing well, because those decks can pick off some of those combo decks like that. Then as we scroll up and move closer to the competitive scene, we see 5-color Dragonstorm. So again, another combo deck. Esper Reanimator, another combo deck, having very healthy win rates. Here you see Squirrel Twin very dropping off, heavily in the meta. And then you see everything else kind of picking up there in terms of what's going on with Esper Reanimator. And then again, Azorus Auras slowly starting to move into that space. So very, very close there. So let's go ahead and we'll plow through each of these again real quickly here, one by one. As we like to say, there's Mono Green Elves. Haven't seen it here for a while, actually. Look at that. And then we continue to move forward. Elves is back in there. There you go. Elves is not doing well, though, at 45. And then we get to Mythic and nothing in Mythic. So that's what we got going on in terms of historic best of one. And we've covered both best of one and best of three. Last but not least, let's go look at Historic Brawl. This was the midweek magic this week. Super fun. We got Kinnan, Bonder of Prodigy, Edgar, Charmed Groom. So this is one of the first times it's up here since I recollect. Monada getting smashed when that used to be a very, very popular deck. And then you can see what's very popular here. Again, those win rates, the first sliver in terms of popularity over time, some of those spikes, and then obviously you can see everything else in terms of win rates. They're pretty widespread in terms of what we're seeing, Kinnan being the best, but also probably most consistent in terms of what we're seeing across there. My friends, apologies. So that is standard Alchemy historic Brawl here today on the weekly episode for Friday Night Meta. Quickly, what has had any impacts this week? Tournaments are starting to be a little bit lighter, kind of have been, at least as of late. But the biggest thing here is this one, .gg. Here we got Santomi taking it down with Esper Clerics. We got Picorni playing with Gruul Werewolves, and a few other folks there as well. So Esper Clerics still holding up very well. Gruul in there, Mono White Aggro, Azorus Control. So pretty wide range in terms of what we got going on, which is always nice to see, particularly in some of those tournaments. So pretty awesome. That is what we have going on in terms of today's meta, some of the events. Again, Planeswalkers, thank you as always. If you get a question, if you get a comment, let me know down below. Love to hear from you. On top of that, feel free to hop in that Discord server like we talked about. Yeah, please feel free to drop me a like and smash that subscribe. So love to see you around some more. And stay tuned because we got a lot of stuff coming here still. Lots of top decks. We're into a new year. I'm very excited. We got a whole host of things still planned and some multiverse tournaments hopefully here coming up soon and live stream. So stay tuned, my friends. Stay safe out there. We'll see you again soon. And until next time, Mythras out.